Hey, good Friday morning here. Yeah, I got a video I want to do. It's kind of lengthy, but hang in there with me as long as you can. This is from military.com on yesterday. Army planners are weighing force reductions up to 90,000 active duty soldiers. And this was from author Steve Bannon from military.com. So let's get into this. The Army is quietly considering a sweeping reduction of up to 90,000 active duty troops, a move that underscores mounting fiscal pressure at the Pentagon and a broader shift in military strategy away from Europe and counterterrorism, according to 3 defense officials familiar with the deliberations. Internal discussions are exploring trimming the force to between 360,000 to 420,000 troops, down from its current level of roughly 450,000. The potential cuts would mark one of the most dramatic force reductions in years, as military planners aim to reshape the Army from a blunt, conventional force into what they hope could be a more agile, specialized instrument better suited for future conflicts. It's unclear whether any cuts are it's unclear whether any cuts are being mulled for the Army Reserve or National Guards. I'm sitting here reading this. There's a terrible glare on my phone. The move comes after Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth directed the Pentagon to come up with plans to cut 8% from the budget. Hegseth has long criticized what he describes as woke initiatives within the military, though that critique has centered on ill-defined cultural grievances and confused the force on how to comply and on what exactly needs scrubbing. Efforts to combat climate change, acknowledged by military leaders for years as a pressing national security issue, have also come under scrutiny in Hegseth's Pentagon. Eliminating such programs alone would not yield anywhere close to 8% savings, making the reductions in combat forces likely unavoidable. The discussion of cuts comes as the Army is spread especially thin across the world, juggling counterterrorism missions in Africa and the Middle East, which are basically legacy missions from the global war on terrorism era, while building its footprint in the Pacific to counter Beijing's expansionist goals. Moreover, the Army has effectively been the quarterback in bolstering NATO's front lines amid Russian President Vladimir Putin's ongoing war in Ukraine, a mission that the Trump administration has frequently scoffed at. On Thursday, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, visiting NATO headquarters in Brussels, delivered a blunt message. President Donald Trump expects European nations to increase their military spending significantly. He's against a NATO that lacks the capabilities needed to fulfill its obligations under the treaty, Rubio said. This is a hard truth, but one that must be addressed. The Army has not detailed how or whether potential cuts would be made, and the service declined to comment. One defense official cautioned that such internal reviews frequently consider a range of scenarios, including extreme ones, and that no final discussions have been made. Each of the 3 officials was granted anonymity to avoid retaliation because they were not authorized to speak to the media. Still, some officials have voiced concerns that a dramatic reduction in force levels could exacerbate an already difficult recruiting environment and drive skilled personnel away. Sorry about that. The idea of shrinking the Army may already be percolating within the Pentagon. Austin Dahmer, a former national security advisor to Josh Hawley, is now a senior Defense Department policy staffer who could play a key role in force structure. In 2023, he penned a white paper for the Marathon Initiative, a Republican-centric national security think tank that makes the case for dramatically scaling back the Army's size in favor of reallocating money spent on the land force to the Air Force and to the Navy, arguing that in a war with China, many of the Army's capabilities, such as the Latin track artillery vehicles, would be obsolete in island hopping campaigns. However, the dramatic reduction would be difficult without cutting into the Army's light infantry brigades, which would likely be critical in seasoned terrain and massive cities. One of the largest bill payers in resourcing the strategy of the down should be the Army. This is because the size of the Army large-scale land maneuver forces is principally scaled to the threat of Russia invasion of NATO territory. Dahmer wrote in a white paper, large-scale land maneuver forces are of much less utility in the vast maritime and littoral theater of the Western Pacific. One defense official noted that Dahmer has had no role in the Army war gaming, reducing the force. On Thursday, the chairman of the Senate Arms Committee criticized Pentagon mid-level staffers for what he described as a misguided plan to reduce the number of troops in Europe, though it's unclear what staffers he was referring to. Okay, if you guys still there hanging with me, I think I'm halfway with this. They've been working to pursue U.S. retreat from Europe, and they've often been doing so without coordinating with the Secretary of Defense, Wicker said. If the Army reduced the size of its active duty force by the estimates under consideration, it could be far more dramatic than the announced plan to reduce the size of the force by about 24,000 last year. Then Army Secretary Christine Wormuth told reporters the service was cutting positions associated with counterterrorism. The Army at that time announced a cut of about 10,000 positions for engineers, let's see, let me read that again. The Army at the time announced a cut of about 10,000 positions for engineers and similar jobs that were tied to counterterrorism missions. Additional cuts came from cavalry squadrons whose relevance has dwindled with the advancement of drone technology. Support roles in special operations were also scaled back. At the time, Wormuth noted the service wasn't cutting soldiers themselves out of the Army, but that the lion's share of those cuts were job positions, many of which weren't even filled. The move also comes as the service is seemingly digging itself out of the year-long recruiting slump, which has been attributed to a lack of qualified candidates. The Army was uniquely affected, being by far the largest service, of thus having the most ambitious enlistment quotas. Still, the Army met its recruiting goals last year and is on track to see a healthy haul of enlistments this year, largely due to pre-basic training courses for applicants who did not initially meet academic or body weight standards. So that's a lot to take in at one time, but you know, I'm no expert on this stuff, so but this is an article. You know, you can take what you can, you know, what you can get out of it. It's all just for us to better stay in touch with what's going on with our military. I'm not saying one thing negative or positive. You know, I don't have that type of knowledge. I'm just reading this particular journalist paper that he wrote. So, but he's out of the DC area. He's in there. He's in the know. You know, he has contacts and stuff like that. So I'm not saying he's 100% truthful or spot on with anything, but evidently there is some noise being made about this. So hey, it's just something to just to keep our knowledge on, just to be abreast as we can with our military. So hey, that's all I got for you guys today. I had to do this video from my car today because I had to drop my mom off to the doctor, so this would be the only chance I had to get this done. So that's why I'm getting this done now. I mean, that's why I'm in the car. I'm normally walking or at home. Other than that, hey, that's all I got for you guys. I'll probably be back on Monday. But hey, you see a veteran, help a veteran. There's a lot of veterans not aware of their benefits, and they need help. So we just help one veteran at a time. That's all I got for you guys today. I'm out.